Okay, take two. First one didn't work. So hello, everyone. Just assume that I didn't nearly go live and it didn't quite work. Just assume that this is the first take. That's what we'll do. Okay, so hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the qualities of an awakened being. And as we're in this pivotal time of awakening the species, are we being helped? As we're in this pivotal time of the whole of society starting to evolve and awaken, are we being helped? It's a good question, isn't it? So for those of you who don't know, I'm Lisa Turner from Psycademy, and let's look at some of the qualities that you might observe in yourself or in others, and the qualities that we all could, there's no should in this, but that we could aspire to in order to support the awakening of the species. So I've got a little list here. As you know, I like my lists. I do like my lists. I'm an engineer. I like my checklists. So, oh, I can't see who you are. I can see lots of lovely people watching me, but pop a little hello. And if you like what I'm saying, say, do the like thingy. And if you have any questions, pop a question in the comments box. If you're watching the replay, don't worry, pop a question in. I'll come back and I will type the answer by magic. Okay, so number one, first quality of a highly evolved being, an awakened being, is they see the unity of all life. They experience or they see it. Now, some people kind of they get it intellectually and we're all one except the mean people because we don't want to be one with them. But ultimately, a highly evolved being sees the unity in all life, and they're aware of divinity and they are aware that they are divinity. So, but not in a, then it's not like there's an arrogance in that. It's like, oh, hi, Audrey. So it's not like there's an arrogance in that. It's just like they're aware that they are divinity, just as they are aware that everyone else is an aspect of divinity. So maybe an aspect of divinity is perhaps a better one. Number two, they seek to express themselves as divinity. So one of the ways that you could do this is in any situation or circumstance, kind of ask yourself, okay, so if I was an aspect of the divine, just say, hypothetically, like what I am, just say I was an aspect of the divine, how would that aspect, how would the divine respond and react and behave in this situation and these circumstances? So those are, that's just one way of doing it. And as an expression of divinity, what they seek to do is, so it's like they see the good in others, but they also have good boundaries in that. So this is kind of coming into some of the others, but it's like they seek to serve, which is another one. That's what I'm coming to. Actually, the next one, they seek to serve. So number three, they seek to serve, but they also seek to serve themselves. So it's always a win-win. It's always for the highest good. And ultimately, if ever it really came to it, they would, it's a bit like this, one of the thinkers, I think this is in one of, it was in a spiritual book I read that name escapes me right now. And it's this idea of, if you were an aspect of divinity, thinking about being really highly evolved, if there was a baby, if there was a fire and you heard a baby crying in the burning building where the fire is, which way would you run? Now, a highly evolved person, in fact, most people, it's like the expression of who they are is they would run to the cries and they would help. And this is what I mean about seeking to serve. And one of the things I've observed it's really, really interesting that they've had this movement in the spiritual arena for a while now. This idea of, the law of attraction and manifesting more. And you heard my rant about manifesting a few days ago. And one of the things I've heard about spiritual, a lot of spiritual people, it's like they talk a talk of spirituality and they say, oh, I'm very spiritual. I'm already awakened. And that's great. If you are, that's great. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, Caroline. So, they might say they're already awakened. I'm already awakened. I don't need that. But then in the next breath, they'll say, so, as you know, we're running a live event it's 2 weeks tomorrow. And, we're doing all our preparations, and inevitably we're getting lots of emails from people who say, I really want to come, I just can't afford it. And they'll say, because I only receive X. It's like the whole way of thinking about it. I only receive a pittance. I only get. And like the whole energy of that is gimme, 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 gimme. It's a horrible energy. It really is. It's like, well, what if they just, it's like, no wonder they don't get a lot, is because the whole energy there is gimme, gimme, gimme. It's not, oh, I only serve this number of people. Daniel Priestley wrote a great book, and maybe I'll tag him in this. I don't know. I'll see how I feel. So he wrote a great book. Oh, I totally forgot the name of it. Bugger. If I remember it, I'll post a link to it. Anyway, in this book, he talked about being an entrepreneur, and it's his most, I think it's one of his recent ones. And he talked about being an entrepreneur and how much money you should aspire to make and generate. And he says, one of the things he says is, like, think of a number and write it down before you read on. Write down the amount of money you would like to make in the next 12 months. And so, you know what, go ahead and do that. Or just write it down. You can write it down, post it, or you can just write it down, on a piece of paper. And in a moment, I will tell you what he says. So go ahead, write it down. Written it down. Now, what he says was, if you wrote, I think it was something like 3 million. If you wrote less than 3 million, now I'll correct this if I'm wrong, but it was like, it was way bigger. Like, I had a big number, but it was way bigger than that. And he said, if you have less than 3 million, you're being selfish. Whoa, I kind of thought, well, that got me thinking. And what he was saying was, what he went on to explain was that if you have a small number, like, by a small number, he was saying things like 100,000 or 300,000 or, 60,000. That's a small number. And for some of you might be going, well, that's a huge number. But what he said was, if you are thinking of making 100,000, the reason that's being selfish and not serving is because you are only thinking of what you and maybe your immediate family could do with that money. The only way you can utilize, into the millions is because you've got a global vision, a vision for the planet, a global vision for what you'd like to change, for what you'd like to create in the planet, on the shift, how many people you'd like to serve. So this is what I mean with number 3. They seek to serve, but in that they seek to find ways to generate the income so that they can serve even more. So those spiritual people that you'll hear and you'll know about, and they say, well, I only do it for free. I don't charge for my services. They're only thinking of touching the immediate people they can touch in their spare time while they stack shelves in Tesco's in the night shift. And, I don't know about you, but what's more inspiring is somebody who is on benefits or on a, minimal paid job. And I'm not saying anything bad about that, but they say they're helping people by not charging. Or someone who's on benefits or in a low paid job saying, you know what, I've got a global vision for, I'm going to change the planet. And these are the things I'm going to do. And I'm going to help 100,000 people get off benefits, or 100,000 people generate financial security, or I'm going to feed 100,000 people, or reconnect 100,000 people to their higher self, or whatever it is. Do you get how that's different? Do you get how that's really serving? I know this will push some people's buttons. So unless the number you wrote down for the amount of money you want to make in the next 12 months, now I'm not saying you can make it, but you could if your vision is big enough. But if your vision is big enough, you could. And if your vision is in the millions, the only way you can have that vision from where you are, being a spiritual person, being an awakened person, is because you have the vision to serve more people, and more people at a deeper, higher level. So, Jeannie, hello. Lovely to see you here. Okay, number 4, they always speak the truth. Now this is an interesting one. So they always speak the truth. And this goes with the next one, which is the number 5, which is they do what they say. So if they say that they're going to do something, they will do it. Or they might renegotiate so that is no longer the agreement, but they won't kind of leave it hanging there. So they'll speak the truth. Now, one of the things about being and I just had a great conversation with someone just literally about half an hour ago before I got onto this live. And we were having a conversation. She wants to come to our live event. And she says, but I can't afford it. And I started to I had all this passion kind of come up. And I almost said, how dare you speak that into existence? Because if you are saying, I can't afford it, what you're saying is, yeah, that might be the truth of your existence, but what you're saying is that, what you're saying is, hey, universe, create the environment where it's such that I can't afford stuff that I want, okay? And I spoke my truth to her, which is, you are so much bigger than that. You are so much more powerful. You are so much more, you are so much more resourceful if you chose it. Choose it. Choose it. And speak it into existence by saying, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I am. And the question I'm asking myself is, how am I going to get there? And, you know, this might be about the event, but it could be about anything. And there was another lady I spoke to, and she said, oh, you know, well, finances are a bit restricted. And we had this conversation. I said, do you like that? Do you like having restricted finances? And she started giving me all this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, the answer is yes or no. Do you like it or not? And she was like, well, no, of course not. Of course I don't. And I was like, it was so obvious to her. Why was I even asking this question? So I spoke my truth to her, and I said, if you are saying finances are restricted, you are speaking it into existence. So my truth to you is, speak something else into existence, and you are so much more magnificent than you are saying and you are expressing right now. That's like I could hear and feel. It was almost like it physically hurt me for her to speak what was like not a truth. It wasn't a truth about who she was. It was a truth about who she believed she was, but it wasn't who she was. I could see her so much bigger than that. So always speaking the truth. And they do what they say. I said I'd do a Facebook Live today. Here I am. Ta-da! Now, number 6, they embrace the principle of custodianship rather than ownership. Now, this is something that's actually happening with the whole planet right now, that we're really kind of shifting away from ownership into being custodians. Now, whether this is custodian of land, and, you know, you might be a farmer owning some land, or custodian of the land that you use to produce food to feed people. And if anyone isn't a good custodian of a resource, what, you know, the ideal would be, and we are moving towards it, is anyone who's not a really empowered, empowering, and good, positive custodian of a particular resource, what will happen is the circumstances will start to conspire such that they are no longer a custodian of that. Does that make sense? So they're no longer a custodian, so they will no longer own it. And I mean, this is true. Like, another way of thinking about this is think about owning a house, right? We think we own a house, but honestly, you know, unless you've paid off your mortgage, and even then, right? Even then, like, say you own a house and you don't make the mortgage payments on it, or you don't look after the house. Ultimately, like, the house wouldn't stay in a state where you could live in it. So you might own it, but you're not, like, on paper. But first of all, the value of it will go down and down and down until you don't really own a house. Like, if you're not a good custodian of the house, ultimately the house will disintegrate and be destroyed. You know, entropy, that's what we call it, entropy. So you have to continually reverse entropy, maintain the house, otherwise you will end up not owning a house. Likewise with your mortgage payments, you don't pay it, they'll take it away. Not that it was, if you have a mortgage on it, you don't really own it, you are the custodian of it. So this is something that we're kind of moving towards on the planet right now, this idea of custodianship. Number 7. Now, this is interesting. They never harm or cause the death of another sentient being without their express permission, and that includes themselves. And I see so many spiritual people who are actively harming themselves, either through what they do, through what they don't do, or through not allowing themselves to receive what is rightfully theirs, like a decent compensation for a brilliant service. And so what happens is, so that lowers their level of awakening, and others pick up on this. So if you're harming yourself, and if your work, like if you're a psychic or a spiritual practitioner, and your work is, by doing this work, harms yourself, I'm not even going to say harms another, because most spiritual people would never harm another, but they will happily harm themselves, thinking that's the right thing to do. And if that's happening, what that means is that will actually stop that will stop clients coming to you. They won't be able to work with you. They'll pick it up. It's like, I don't want to work with her unless she's going to charge me, because you know, I feel uncomfortable about that. And it's like, they might come once, but there'll be this karmic imbalance, and there'll be like a karmic indebtedness. And it's like, you know, if somebody said, You know, and I get a lot of emails from people who say, how dare you say we should charge? I give it away for free. And I say, you know, I don't hold anything over anyone else. And it's like, no, you don't, but they will feel beholden to you. And it's a bit like, say your neighbor starts mowing your lawn. And then the next week, you know, they mow the lawn and you go, oh, thank you. And then the next week they mow your lawn again. And then you start to feel a bit guilty. And like I would think, oh God, I would start to think, maybe I should mow their lawn. And they go, no, I'm just mowing the lawn. That's what I do. It's really hard work, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it, you know, because this is my passion and my life's purpose. I have to mow the lawns. Like after a while, you're going to feel a little bit, I think you'd start to feel a bit guilty. I certainly would. Likewise, you know, so whenever anyone receives something, there is a it's like there's this energetic debt. Now in nature, there's never a debt. In nature, there's never a debt. So, lots of people are liking that. So, give an example of this. Perfect example. A tree produces oxygen in exchange for carbon dioxide. Like the atmosphere doesn't give the tree a whole bunch of carbon dioxide and say, yeah, you pay me back whenever you like, you know, with some oxygen. That's fine. Whenever you like, whenever you're ready. No, it happens instantly. That exchange happens instantly. And so when you're working with someone, if there isn't an instant and agreed exchange that is karmically balanced, then somehow you are harming. In fact, you're harming both parties. If you're giving away too much, you're harming the people you're giving it to, because on some level they'll know that that's damaging you, and it will be damaging you. It will be causing you to be depleted of energy. Okay, next one. If you have any questions, pop the questions in, or comments, observations. How's this landing? Feel good? Does it sound right? Is it resonating with you? You know, can you see what I'm saying? Okay, next one. They don't compete, they collaborate. But they do always seek to be better, as in they seek to be a greater and greater expression of the divine. But it's not, so I can be better than I can be better than someone else. It's just like, I want to be the best I can be in this particular moment. Leslie, hi. So, I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory. They will just collaborate. And that's what goes back to the win-win. Now, this one, number 9. A highly awakened being is aware that they need nothing. Now, because they're aware that they are divinity, they know that they have everything, and anything that they desire can be theirs. They just choose it. And it's a whole kind of bigger explanation of like how they're like, in this moment, it might be that you have the experience of wanting something that you don't have. But as a highly evolved being, a highly evolved person, you wouldn't experience that as a lack, because you know time doesn't exist, and at any time you want it, you actually chose that and would take action, you could just go and get that. So right now I could say, you know what, I'm a bit thirsty. I fancy a drink of water. Oh, look, here it is. Now there's a time gap between me deciding and taking a drink. Yeah. But there's no sense of, oh, there's the water over there, and I better say some affirmations that will have the water just throw itself into my mouth or whatever, which somehow people seem to think will work with money. I'm saying my money affirmations, but I keep checking my bank account and it's just not there. You know what? That's not how it works. Value exchange, right? Value exchange. So they're aware that they need nothing, and they might choose they might choose things, and they might not. Next one, number 10, they express unconditional love. Now, a lot of people interpret this to mean that you just get walked all over by anyone, that you just allow anyone to walk all over you because that's how you express unconditional love. Now, those of you who have children or spend any time around children, you will know that part of, like, if you expressing unconditional love does not mean saying yes to everything your child wants, because what you will end up with is a really spoiled child who cannot, they don't develop any inner resources. They start to believe that the world just has to change to accommodate them without them actually serving. So you'll bring up a really self-centered, potentially selfish, and an individual who's not aware that they're divine and that they have access to everything. So sometimes unconditional love means saying no. Sometimes it means having boundaries and limits, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it might be you just gift somebody something and you can still stay in balance. So as an example, so not all of our programs, so But a couple of our programs have what do you call it? Like a scholarship. That's what, scholarship. And we just offer people to do it for like they can do it for like a peppercorn, just a seed amount of money. We do ask for some exchange, and we do this on the basis of every 10 people who enroll, we will gift the 11th person a free place on that program. Well, for this peppercorn. So it's normally under £10. But we ask them to fill in an application to demonstrate that they don't have the means right now, and also to demonstrate, because I don't want people on that program who are just going to be freeloaders or who are going to get access to the program and then not do it. So we do have conditions on that. And if they don't demonstrate that they're following through on the program, then we'll either remove them from it, or we'll say, thank you very much, and now can you pay the full fee because you didn't use it. Kind of bizarre, that, isn't it? I find I've never had to do that. Well, I have had to nudge people, and as soon as they do that, I say, look, this is the agreement was that you could have this for, I think it's £7, but the agreement was that you would participate and you would do it, and you're not participating. So will you now participate, or we will have to send you an invoice for the rest of for the balance? And because that's, you know, that's the cost. The cost is you participate, you stand up, you step into the program, you are active in the program. So so that's how we do that. So, and that's how we express, I mean, that's us expressing unconditional love, because I want them to participate. Yeah. So people saying hello to each other. Hello, each other. Hello. Right. Next one, number 11. And this is probably a topic for a whole Facebook Live, which is they understand and they apply the principles of metaphysics. So as a highly, now this really corresponds to the highly evolved beings who are multidimensional, which is, by the way, you. So in the physical plane, your atoms exist because they're vibrating at a particular frequency. And it's a bit like the wheels, like the spokes on a wheel. If you spin the spokes fast enough, it looks like a solid disc. So when you spin in, and this is where a lot of people, they talk about raising their vibration, and I think they actually mean lowering their frequency, because when you lower your frequency, you become a single point. And you know, in quantum physics, this is what happens. The slower something vibrates, it goes from a wave to a particle. And so that's when it kind of enters another dimension, I guess. I'm kind of whole lot of quantum physics here. I'm not going to bother explain. Well, I'm not going to explain because anyway. So you change your vibration so that you're either physical or non-physical. You can do this with thought. Now, one of the things with metaphysics is the idea that everything that you want could exist right now, should you choose it. So those of you who are wanting more money, it's here right now. You're just choosing not to, and not consciously, but unconsciously choosing not to be able to see it and experience it. So, so they use and harness and apply the principles of metaphysics. So if you want something, you can experience it. Now, one of the ways we do this is with our energy. So if things can ping in and out of existence, now this is a little bit, we're getting a little bit, you know, really metaphysical. But in order for it to change from one state to another does require energy. And, you know, and I really want you to get over the idea that something will magically pop into your bank account, because it doesn't work like that. But here's a way of thinking about this. So here's a really simple exercise that will help you manifest more. Now, I hate the word manifest, so let's just say create more. So first of all, I want you to think of something that you have and you really, really, really love having. Okay? You have it and you really love it. So I want you to think about that thing. And it might be the car that you own, the house you live in, might be your handbag, might be I love my phone. I love owning my iPhone. I really do. I love my phone. It might be, I just got a whole load of new craft journals. So, you know, it's something that you have that you really love having. Okay. So really step into the feeling. Feel that feeling of what it feels like to have something and love having it. Okay. Now, clear the screen. Now, think about something that you would like, right? That you'd like to have. Something that you want, but you don't currently have it, okay? So something you want, but you don't currently have. Now, notice how the energy is different. Notice how it's like, oh, I want that, but I don't have it. So maybe, and let's pick, for argument's sake, coming to our event, right? Say you'd love to come to the event, and for some reason, it doesn't feel like that's possible. So you want something that you don't currently have. Really step into that feeling and notice how it's different, right? That's the energy of wanting. That's the energy of having. So what you have to do, if you want to have what you don't have, if there's something you want that you don't have, what you do is you change the energy of wanting into the energy of wanting into the energy of having. So when you do that, you get to have what you want by changing the energy. Okay? So do that now. Do that now as an exercise. And notice how it shifts. So if you think about something, so I mean, taking money, you know, a lot of people they'll say, I want more money. Now, as soon as you say, I want more money, what you are saying is that presupposes that you don't have it. Because the only reason you can want it is to think that you don't have it, to believe that you don't have it. Now, a few days ago, we did the rant on beliefs. So if you say, I want more money, that presupposes you don't have it. If, however, you say, all the money I desire is coming to me now, because it is coming to me now, it will flow to you. Now, again, money is something you don't actually have, because having money is useless. What you actually want, love your boots, want a bungalow, Audrey. Awesome. Awesome. Notice the difference. In fact, I would step that up, because a bungalow, now, although in metaphysics there's no difference, you may need more energy. So I want you to put another 3 to 4 things that you have, that you love having, and stack them on that things that you have and love having. Step into that, amplify the energy, times it by 10, times it by 10, times it by 10, and then bring in the thing you want. Because I mean, in metaphysics and in spiritually, there's no difference between wanting, you know, like getting a bungalow and getting a pair of boots. But in your brain, there might be. It's like easy to buy a pair of boots, not so easy to buy a bungalow or to get a bungalow. So stack the halves, and I would actually suggest everyone does that. Thank you, Audrey. I'll pay you later. The check's in the post. So stack the things that you have and that feeling. So you really amplify the feeling of having, and then just do one thing that you want. In fact, one of the things you might want to, just to get this process in the muscle, is start with something small, and that something that you actually know is absolutely going to come. It's just maybe not here yet. So do that and practice that. Oh yeah, I'll just say that last piece about money. So money, like having money is actually useless. Being the custodian of money and using money so that it flows in and out of your experience, that's useful. Okay, that's how you're the custodian of money. So you actually don't want to have money. You want to have money flowing through you and flowing through your experience and flowing through your bank account. You don't want it sitting in your bank account. Now, even like, so for example, I'm really into doing, you know, making my money work for me and doing quite a lot of sort of financial investing and things like that. So although I technically have it, I kind of don't have it, because at the moment it's lent to a company so that that company can use the money to grow. So it's flowed through me into the company, who are currently using my money to grow. So we're creating wealth in the world, employing people, feeding children, I don't know, saving the planet. So what else could we do? I was going to do something else with the having wanting. What else could we do with the having wanting? While my brain is reminding myself of that, any questions? I'm loving these little likey things. I love these. By the way. Feel free to do more. Makes me happy. Who doesn't want more happy people in the world, right? So any questions or comments about this so far? So I'm just going to recap the qualities of a highly awakened and awakening being, and how you can, I want you to think about how you can start to embody these. So sees the unity of all life. Now, yesterday we talked about how the species is awakening to unity, so that we experience us as being one, ourselves as being one, unity. And by the way, the way this is going to happen is they're going to start to be pockets of unity, pockets of coherence. So it's not like we're suddenly going to go boom. It's a bit like how, I don't know if you've ever grown a crystal if you've ever done crystallography. So you grow a crystal and you plant a seed crystal, and the seed crystal in the solution, which is saturated with like the raw materials for the crystal. So right now what we have on the planet are lots of seed crystals, awakened beings, and we have the beautiful raw material for that awakening. So around the planet, there'll be these seeds that are starting to grow into these greater and greater areas of unity, until eventually the whole planet will crystalline and become one. And we want to do that in a good way, right? So seize the unity of all life. If you have any questions about that, that's a big topic, by the way. I'm going to share more about that on my live event. So let me recap this first, and then I'm going to tell you something else. No, I'm going to tell you something else now. All right, so in my little headline there, I put, are we being helped? So one of the things I have been receiving is this insight about that right now the planet is being surrounded by highly evolved beings, or rather 5 spheres, and they're known as the creator spheres. And what they're doing is they're creating an environment and enabling us to create the environment where we can, like, they're creating the raw materials for unity. And those are, they're non-physical and they have no ego, but they do have consciousness, which can be channeled and invoked. Now, just last week, I took a group of beautiful people through an initiation into the creator spheres so that they could access these highly evolved beings, what that will ultimately enable them to do. So the way we started the process was, the first initiation into becoming a creator being into the spheres was they received the seed crystal, so they would become this resonant being. So are we being helped? Yes. Are we being dishelped? Yes. And I'll say more about that on our live event. There's nothing to fear, and I'll explain why not on the live event, and I'll explain more about the spheres. And I probably won't channel the spheres, but I will channel my highly evolved guides, No One Guide. They're a highly evolved stream of consciousness, and I'm going to invoke them and pass on messages. So you can ask them, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to dialogue with them. So rather than them just giving you random messages that may not be any use to you right now, you'll be able to ask questions and they'll answer them. And then if you don't you need more information, you can just ask them, you can dialogue with them, so you can go deeper into your questions. So are we being helped? Yes. Do you want to know more about that? Let me know. Post a question. Okay, so seeks unity, seeks to express themselves as divinity, seeks to serve, less of the gimme, gimme, gimme energy, more of the how can I serve? You know, I wake up every morning and I ask myself the question, how can I best serve? Sometimes it's by not going to work. Is that like the Arcturians? Say more about what you mean by that, because there are various theories about that. So just say a little bit more about what you mean about that. Here's what I will say about the creator spheres. As far as I know, nothing like it has ever been experienced on the planet or around the planet prior to what's happening at this time. And we, as the human species, have called them into being. The spheres are not the highly evolved beings. They are a portal to highly evolved beings. There are 5 of them so that they have line of sight. So that if you had a sphere, like the Earth, and you had 5 other spheres positioned around it, you'd need 5 so that one could always see at least 1 or 2 of the others. So there's line of sight. So they seek to serve. They always speak the truth. They do what they say. They embrace the principle of custodianship rather than ownership. They'll never harm or cause the death of another sentient being without their express permission. Now notice that, express permission. So sometimes a sentient being might say, I want to die. So Audrey says, in that they're helping us. Again, I'm not quite sure what you mean by how the Arcturians are helping us. I'll say a little bit more about how they're helping us in a minute. So they don't compete, they collaborate, and they're aware that they need nothing. They express unconditional love, and they understand and apply the principles of metaphysics. So, how are the spheres helping us? So what they're doing right now is they are here because we've called them. We've called them into being because we have said, we want to awaken. Will you help us awaken? What they're here, and how they're helping us is, how to explain this? So what the spheres are doing is they're creating an environment where awakening becomes possible and easy. Now, as part of that, what they're doing is they're speeding up those who are choosing to be initiated into these higher levels of awakening. So those of you who are choosing to step up and move forward into this awakening, what you'll find is that and those of you who are, you know, who receive the initiations that we're offering, what they do is they, trying to think of a way to explain this easy without a whole ton of background information. So going back to the metaphysics, if you make a decision, a conscious decision to create something, and you have access to the energy of the spheres, which at the moment is only accessible through initiation, if that's the case, then what happens is your ability to create is vastly increased. So normally there's, okay, I think a thought of wanting something. I'm trying to get my hand in screen. So I think a thought, and then there's the result. And normally there's time in between. What happens is that time gets shorter and shorter, so you start to create much more quickly. Now this is happening a little bit for everyone, but the spheres will find it easier if you have been initiated. Now, if you want to learn more about that, I'm running an event. It's called How to Be a Spiritual Leader and Six-Figure Psychic, or How to Be a Six-Figure Psychic and Spiritual Leader. This is how spiritual people get to be the custodians of greater wealth. I'll pop a link in. What we're going to do is we're going to remove all your money blocks so that you feel really comfortable being the custodian of wealth. Give you some really concrete skills on not only how to run a business as a psychic, but also how to be more psychic. So we're going to remove some of those blocks to that. You'll also get you will start your initiatory journey into your higher self. So we're going to initiate you into your higher self by bringing your higher self from above. We're going to position it above your head, and then we're going to bring it into your physical body. Then what we'll do is on the last day, I'll be doing an invoking of no one guide, so you can dialogue with my guides. And the other really, really exciting thing is you get lunch. How cool is that? Now, I need to tell you, at the time of recording this video on whatever it is, the 19th of October, I think we're still in, the price is going up next week. At the time of recording, it is still in the lower bracket price. So if you want to save £500, I would go and register. That's what I would do. Unless you like spending more money, in which case, go register next week. I'm happy either way. I think it would be better if you registered early for two reasons. You get to save money, and the other reason is there's some stuff that it would be really useful for you. It's not essential, but it would be super, super, super useful if you did it before you attended the event, including going through our Higher Self Therapy Home Study Program and accessing. There's some specific resources on money, wealth, and energy, and starting to meditate and things like that. So some specific resources that would be super cool. And here's what we're going to do. Now, I know several of you who are already registered. Leslie and Caroline, I know you're already, and Chrissy, I know you're coming, even though you haven't gone. Runs out tomorrow, lovey, for you. You've got a special discount, Chrissy. Tomorrow, ping. You might want to push the button. Here's what we're going to do. Those of you who are registered and who are coming, what we will do. Oh, who's resisting that? Whenever I get a resistance, someone's resisting what I was about to do. What I was about to do is share with you that those of you who are already registered, what we're going to do is we're going to start to create an energy grid to support you on your journey to the event. So there you go. So any questions about this? Any questions about anything? If you like the video, click the like button. If you think this is an important message about the awakening of society, then share it, pass it on and share it. And if you're listening to the recording, don't worry, and you have a question, pop it in. I will come back and answer it later. So till next time, lots and lots of love to you. So bye everyone. Bye for now. Bye.